a better Nigeria? Is it a myth, or do we keep hoping?
Nigeria is a highly religious country. How come corruption thrives?
Why is adoption not encouraged in Nigeria?
Is there a future for the Nigerian youth?
Being rich and famous, is that the only drive to be an artist?
What makes a great nation? Is it the leaders? What about the people?
This is Answers with Dr. Reju. Hi, my name is Onari, and this is Answers with Dr. Reju, where critical life issues are clarified. We've been talking on the program about the need for citizens to demand accountability, the need for citizens to get politically educated, the need for them to, rise up and take up their role. I have in the studio this evening Obi Brown, Adams Lojok. Welcome, guys, and our Chief Resource Person, Dr. Reju. And Obi, I'm going to hand this over to you to take it from here.
Yeah, Dr. Reju, I've been on a roll in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And we have not been able to really exhaust all the things that we need to exhaust. I don't think we should exhaust it until we really see tangible improvement.
Yeah.
In as regards citizens and their roles. But then last week we were talking about the books you have been reading, and we said we'd love to get your reflections on those books, your perspectives about what the books really were saying, what it means for us today, how we need to respond if we read those books today and plan for the future. And I'm saying this because there's still a lot of ethnic vibes out there, and it's not really helping us.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
So,
you're right. Yeah, I've been reading this book, which I strongly recommend. It was written in 2009 by a guy called Mark Siloan. It's a book titled Oil, Politics and Violence. It's the story of the coups between 1966 and 1976, that 10-year span. And, my take from that book, reading that book, is sort of impressed something on my heart that for this nation to continue, for us to continue our journey into the nation of our dreams, that book basically tells me something. There are some issues we need to revisit. There are some issues that we really need to revisit, because the foundation of this country, which still, because most of the things that this guy spoke about in that book, they are still very active today. In fact, it's as if it's still very, very recent. Issues like the 1966 coups, there were two of them. There was the January, there was the July. And I think the issues raised in those coups are still with us. Three things for me there: the January 1966 coup, the July 1966 coup, and then eventually what led to the Aburi Conference in Ghana, where the issue of regional autonomy and all those kind of things. And you discover that reading the discussion of these leaders, these brilliant guys in Aburi in Ghana, it's as if this is happening in 2015, because we're still talking in this day and age. This is how many years ago, and we're still talking now about the Sovereign National Conference, because we have not sat down to look at those issues. Now, the fear is that we don't want to go apart, right? But that fear, in leadership circles, we say that a bad decision is better than a non-decision. Yeah.
Sorry, sir.
Yeah.
What we have always heard about the Aburi Conference was that at the Aburi Conference, Colonel Ojukwu, right, asked for a secession.
That's not what this guy said. Okay. That's not the position of this guy. In fact, if you read the book, you discover that the part of the country that first of all asked for secession was the North, because then the country was in regions. What happened was that two key, brilliant, leaders from the North were killed in the coup of January 1966, and there was, according to this guy, there was a reprisal in July, and in that reprisal, one of the demands was that the North should pull away. But there was no consensus. So that tells me that there's always been in this country that sentiment of togetherness, right? But the issue we have now is that this togetherness, on what basis? Now, that was the issue. According to Marx, I wasn't alive. I mean, I was a young man. I was about 4 or 5 when this Aburi thing was happening. So I don't even, I don't know. But I was playing with my toys then. That what happened in that conference, and I want to believe that there are tons of resources out there, that one can actually use to check. But what happened at the Aburi was regional autonomy, and they were made to sign. But according to him in that book, there was, the present government then reneged on it, right? They reneged on it because now our main cost today, we've already discovered it, which is oil. So those are the kind of things we need. The issue is, don't take my word for it. This is my own take. We all need to go read this thing. There are many, when the xenophobia happened in South Africa, the issue in South Africa then was a lack of history. They were killing Nigerians because there is a whole active generation in South Africa today who didn't know the input of Nigeria in pulling down apartheid. So they were actually destroying the people that liberated them. I know a man in this city who told me he was a student in London at that time. He marched in London against apartheid. He's a Nigerian. He lives in this city. He's an active politician. So, but if people don't know history, we need to revisit those things. There are many other personal things that I have seen in that, having read other opinions, and I'm able to. I see this book has been very objective. Has been very objective. But there are many things we've been told to believe about the history of Nigeria, and like he concluded it, that a lot of things are kept in secret because the actors in those kind of happenings, then many of them are still alive. So there are a lot of things they don't want us to know. And if we don't know those things, we don't know what to demand. So my take from that book is, honestly, there's so much buried in our past that we need to exhume and really come to terms. Because finally, I will say this. Everyone in this country, from then and what I see today as an adult, that they have played the tribal ethnic card, they have only done it to please themselves. They have not really done it to really please the ethnic group. They've not done it to please that tribe. It's been personal. It's been family. You discover something in that book, how small, how related biologically, blood-wise, people who rule this country are. So the book is out there. Oil, Politics and Violence. The story of Nigerian coups 1966 to 1976. Every young emerging leader needs to read it so that we don't just blab. So that we don't just talk based on what somebody told us. Let's read. There are the strength of this book. Now I'm talking like a professor now. I'm doing a book review now. The strength of this book is that he was able to, the bibliography was long because he had interviews, he had a lot of other references from other books, and he was able to draw very, in my own judgment, very sound, kind of summaries and conclusions. So it's very good. It's out there, you can actually contact Onari, and Onari can get you a copy.
All right. Onari, I'm on your list.
On my list. I will get you a copy.
So, Dr. Reju,
yeah.
If we go back down history lane, most of these guys, you said they're still active, the people that were responsible for all the mayhem back then. Now, I'm trying to look at solutions now. Do you see mass persecutions or mass confessions from these guys? Do we move for a reconciliation or persecution?
We have tried a reconciliation with things like Okuta Panel and things like that. I don't think reconciliation comes from there. There was something I said when the Niger Delta crisis was raging. And I said, this is not going to be solved by people sitting in a room and drafting a communique or whatever. Develop the place. Right? Have massive, sincere development. I did my youth service in in the Niger Delta. I did my youth service in a town called Bori, where you have shell camps. I did my youth service in about 3 places. Then I know the area very well. I remember I was going on a boat ride to a little town called Bakana. The sea is brown because of oil. They can't fish, right? So there are a lot of joblessness and things. If the place is well developed, right, there will be no cry for derivation or whatever. There will be no this. You see, what's happening is when you play the tribal card, you breed mistrust. There is fear, mutual fear, that if that guy is there, you see, if those things are done, in a very sincere way, there's no need for saying that, we need zoning, we need all those kind of things. It's the easy way out. It will never work. It will never work. But let's even look at it. When it has been zoned to this particular area, do we have records that the person that occupies the seat at that time has developed his zone? Are there records? I don't think we do have records. And like I said last week here, today we have governors. There was a time in this country during the particular military regime where deliberately they don't put military governors in states where they come from. Did it work? It didn't work. Because they were trying to say, okay, there was a time the governors was from there. So we've tried all that. We are still playing tribal games, right? Because look at this room right now. We have an Adams here, we have an Obi here, we have an Onari. Sometimes I check where I come from because I've lived in many cities. I've been here close to 20 years, and so it's for the emerging leaders out there. What you want to put in front is not where you come from; it's what you believe in. How you want to serve society, regardless of the guy's face, regardless of his accent. How you want to serve society should be primary. If there is, so because you are asking the question about maybe somebody will victimize or whatever. Honestly, if we're all on the same page that this country should be great, honestly, there's nobody to victimize. And that's what everybody wants. So why can't we do it? Right? That's my, the way the older ones thought we should have a clean break. Why? It's open to all of us that it didn't work. You see, there's something else I saw, in that book and watching some videos based on the book is that majority of these guys, sound leaders. I heard them speak in videos. I read their speeches. Sound. You listen to it. Tafawa Balewa speak. He's brilliant. And Awolowo and all this kind of thing. How many Nigerians do they have the opportunity of being sponsored abroad on government scholarship to go and study? How many? What percentage? It was the order of the day in their own time. It was the order of the day. Majority. I mean, if you listen to Odumegwu Ojukwu talk, you will know he's an Igbo man. And then what I discovered then was that an average citizen, when they talk, they are speaking from a well-informed position. But today, the average citizen, even a graduate, regardless of the grade or CGP, you still know that this guy is just reeling off something that he read in a book. There is no well-articulated position. So, I always get so emotional, in this kind of thing, because our present should be better than our past, right? But I saw young boys and girls speak during the Civil War, for instance. They could articulate their points, why they believe the things they believe. But we don't have that today. What is, if you say PDP, what do they stand for? If you say AMPP or APC, if you say APC, right? What are they known for? There are many other parties out there that we don't even know their names. That we don't even. So, I mean, when we mention a political party, we should, in the same breath, be able to say this is what they stand for. And that's what we are trying to do with, the emerging, through this program, through the activities of our center. We want to let people, we want to raise a detribalized kind of generation.
United Tribes of Nigeria.
That's Dr. Eju's prescription. Because we must understand that, first of all, we are different. We're different. And that's a strength, not a weakness. Right? We are different, and that's a strength because we bring our differences to the table, and then we can have the advantage, that economic principle of comparative advantage, Because now we have a mono economy, which is oil, right? There are other things in other places that we have not even looked at. We can keep saying that because it's been said over and over and over and over, but the foundation of the problem of this country is tribal, ethnic, religious sentiments. It won't help us because it has not helped. I don't think it will change tomorrow.
So, Dr. Eju, you mentioned the confab. I just want you to take it home, juxtaposed with the Aburi conference, that happened in Ghana. Just take it home for us.
Yes, reading that book, I was shocked to see that that the issues that came up at that conference over how many years ago now, in the 60s, is still a major issue. My take is that why can't we just face this, this sort of situations? I mean, this nagging kind of, because I was listening to an interview by Yinka Odumaki. Yinka Odumaki said something that all what is fought for over the years that is been known for is the restructuring of this country. Right? And that now that he will support a government that will promise that kind of a restructuring, and that the immediate past president has already expressed a desire by constituting that conference. Now, my concern is, what is it about the restructuring of this country that we are afraid of? Now, the younger ones need to begin to wrestle with these kind of questions, because I remember too, when that conference was being set up, there were some no-go areas, right? And that to me is not democratic. It's not democratic. In fact, when the conference was set up, my take was that I hope this is not being used as a political game, as a campaign kind of thing, because some parts of Nigeria once said, maybe I can use it to win them. If that is still the case, then there's no sincerity. Now, Nigerians are different, but there's something that unites us. Like we said at the time when we started this whole thing, we need to be able to identify that, something that unites us. So it's something that I believe the younger ones of today, you need to understand. This is what I say to you. What has put you in this seemingly uncomfortable or obviously uncomfortable position is this ethnic, religious, tribal sentiments. And that that's still our major fear. If these guys have this and we don't have this, somebody is going to victimize somebody. It all borders on informed leadership, right? Because there's enough in Nigeria to go around. There's enough in terms of resources. And everybody has something to contribute. There must be a generation. The young ones must not sing that same song. If something happened in 1967 and is still recurring, that's a nation that's not grown up. That's a nation that's not grown up.
You talk so much about the role of citizens. This restructuring, do we have to leave it to the leaders, as in our present leaders?
Citizens don't have the power of decision. They can only press for it. It is the sustained demand for it that will bring whosoever has the power. And you see, that's why even what we have should work. Because there are many things in that constitution, there are many powers given to citizens that we're not even, welding, like a recall, like all those kind of things. If we truly have control over the people we vote into government, we can get a lot of things done. Right? But all the citizens can do is to mount pressure, is to be active politically. The decision at the end of the day still lies with the guys in power. But we know that they have 4 years to do whatever they want to do. After 4 years, they get back to us, we can vote them out. But you see, sometimes 4 years is a long time. That's why I believe the clause of a recall is there. the long and short of this, my take from that book, because that's still what we're talking about, right, is that honestly citizens need to learn. We need to study. We need to have an understanding of how we got here. Because what brought us here won't take us there. What brought us to where we are today are tribal, ethnic, religious sentiments. Somebody told me maybe we should just go our separate ways, and my take is, who told you that the Igbos are united? Yeah. Who told you the Yorubas are united? So it's just reality that we need to embrace. That how do we walk through this? And I've not seen reading that book. The earlier generation in this country were not united. Yeah. But today we live in a global village. Many of us, Hausa, Fulani, Igbo, Yoruba, or whatever, we have the same slangs. We're on the same Facebook. We sort of listen to the same kind of music, this kind of age group. That should be something we embrace, that we can actually speak the same language. And let me reiterate that point. Those who have played these cards over the years, there is no proof, right? There is no proof. When they talk against each other and put us in the middle, somebody was making a reference to somewhere in Aba, is it Abia State, that they've always had this kind of people. Aba is still a stinking town. Absolutely. It's still a stinking town. That's not, you won't blame a Yoruba man or a Hausa man for that. That's it. So what have they done? I'd rather have a Yoruba man govern Aba and let the place develop. I know that's a political taboo out there, but I want to believe that listeners understand what I'm saying. Exactly. We understand what I'm saying. Let's stop this ethnic tribal game. It has not benefited us.
I mean, just like you're saying, reflecting and thinking about the past administration, and everybody will point to the name of one man who worked very hard. Yeah. Akinwumi Adesina was the Minister for Agric. Mm-hmm. He was from the Southwest. I don't know exactly what state he was from, but his what he did, his work in the Ministry of Agriculture benefited everybody. Everybody. From Yelsa to Kebbi. Yeah. So why don't we think in those terms?
The point I'm making here is that this generation needs to know what responsibility that they are faced with. We need to write another story. We need to do something that's never been done before if we want to experience a nation that we've never seen. The nation of our dreams cannot be built on a faulty foundation. It can't be built on a Yoruba agenda, on a Hausa agenda, on an Igbo agenda. It has not worked. If those things have worked, if an Igbo agenda has benefited the Igbos, I will advocate for it. If a Yoruba agenda has benefited the Yorubas, if a Hausa Fulani or a Kanuri or whatever agenda has benefited the people there, I will advocate, but it has not. It has not. Honestly, it's open, and those who are the victims of it shouldn't advocate for the continuation of that, right? They shouldn't advocate for it. It's ignorance, and that's what this program is trying to do, to educate you, to say that see your situation, that you are a Muslim. How does that put food on your table? That you have an emir or you have or whatever, because that's what's coming up now. That there's going to be an emirate somewhere. Like I discussed with that man, I said, which one will you prefer? To have an emirate or to have an economic program that lets you have a car that you can pay gradually to use as a cab? And the answer was obvious. I would prefer that. So I just wish we will just see our situation, right? And know that honestly we're going nowhere. We're just moving. It's just motion, no movement.
Okay, we have to draw the curtains on today's episode. Dr. Edu, thank you. Obi, thank you for your input, and Adams, thank you. To the listeners out there, we must bring this country together. Check our website, Answers with Dr. Edu, to get, the books we've been talking about, and we'll be back here next week. Thank you.
Join us again on Answers with Dr. Edu, where critical life issues are clarified.